Hi guys, welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Mandy and I'm here to talk to you about yarn and knitting and crochet and all of the fiber art stuff that I get onto throughout the week. Okay, so what is Happy June? Yes, that's what it is. We are right at the beginning of June. Kids are getting out of school. The sun is shining. It is a great day today, so I'm super excited. June is Pride Month, so happy Pride Month. I believe it's been a year since I made this sweater, and I believe I made it last year for Pride Month. So I'm dressed for the occasion. I love June and I love Pride Month, and it makes me so happy to celebrate. I have you know what? I have kind of curtailed what I'm going to show you this today. I have been working with my knitting circular knitting machine. So if you guys haven't been watching for the last couple of weeks, I have an Addy King Size Express. And I've been working like my little butt off trying to use up some stash yarn because I've had this acrylic size 3, size 4 worsted DK weight yarn, and I remember specifically getting it for using it in the hat knitting machine. And I went through my stash and I'm looking at this yarn and I'm like, well, why aren't I using this stuff? I mean, I purposely got it for the hat machine, right? So I've been working on that. Now, rather than show you the mountain of hats that I've made, and I'm making them for donation, but rather than show you all of them, I'm going to show you just the different colors that I've used, just the different hat yarns, and kind of talk about those. But first, before we go into any of that, we are going to talk about admin. So, if you guys are new here, welcome. I'm glad that you're joining us. Please stick around. Give the video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button if you like it and come back. But if you don't know, every podcast we give away a digital prize pattern. So all that you have to do to enter is just leave a comment down below. The comment can be whatever you want. It can just make sure that it's nice. Nice comments only, please. But anyways, all you have to do is leave a comment down below, and the 2 rules are you can only win once a month, and $15 USD or under should be the prize cutoff for the digital pattern. So I am going to leave a blank spot right here. And if that was you, please reach out to me on either Instagram or Ravelry as Mandy Von Knits. Let me know what pattern price that you want, and if you use Ravelry, let me know your Ravelry username so that I can gift you the pattern. If you don't use Ravelry, let me know that too. I'll probably need your email address to send the pattern, but there are different payment platforms, so we'll figure out how to get the pattern to you. It's never come up yet, but just in case it does, just know that we'll work together to figure out a solution, you know, with technology and all. We'll get it. Okay, so if you want to enter I keep moving my hands. You know, if you guys have watched me for a while, you know that I talk with my hands, and I'm sorry if that's distracting. It's something I've done for like my entire life. Anyways, if you want to enter for next week's giveaway, please just leave a comment down below and come back next week to see if you win. Okay, let's talk about finished objects because I have more finished objects today than I have whips, which is kind of weird. So I actually only have 2 whips on the needles. I have my Shetland Skies, which I did not work on this last week. I have been focusing on kind of using up the acrylic stash. So that's kind of at a pause until this upcoming week, and I'm going to talk about why in a second. But I also have a new whip, so I'm excited to share with you guys that. Okay, first let's talk kind of really quick about the hat, circular hat knitting machine hats that I made. I'm gonna kind of try to gloss over them because I know that it's just a circular hat knitting machine, and this might not interest you if you're more of a hand knitter. So I want to make sure to just kind of stay to let you see what I'm doing, but not go into too much detail with just the circular hats. Okay, so this is, what is this yarn? This is a Bernat yarn, and this is just the regular acrylic, and for some reason this color name is escaping me, and it's because it was an interesting name. It was like high tech or something. Literally, that was the name of the color, and you know, I really like this color, and I like it for like, my son would love a hat like this. He's more of like a neutral, blacks, grays, browns, blues, and I think that he would like this. This would be one of those variegated yarns that he could get behind. I really like how it knit up, and as you can see, there wasn't much pooling on it. So I thought that was pretty cool too. And I made like a whole bunch of these because I believe Bernat had like mystery bags or something. Maybe it was from Joann's, but they had these mystery bags, and they just sent weight for acrylic yarns, and it was just one color. So I had a whole bunch of just this color. So now I have a bunch of hats to donate. Now, this is not their premium acrylic yarn, but I do have an example of their premium acrylic yarn, and you can tell the difference between the two. This is a lot, I would call this a lot softer. So this is another color that I used, and I love this color. I actually kind of want to keep one of these hats for myself. But if you're familiar with the hat circular knitting machine, you're knitting a long tube, you're pushing one side of the tube into the other, and you're cinching them up. See, it's just cinched. Now, this will probably make a teen-sized hat. My daughter can wear them fine. My son can wear them fine. Kids can wear them fine. Depending on the yarn that you use for the Addy, you can also get adult-sized hats. But the difference between this and this is basically the premium acrylic. So you can tell the difference. I feel like the premium is more soft. This feels, I'm trying to think of the word. It's less soft, and if I closed my eyes and wanted to pick, I would go for the premium acrylic. So I can tell the difference. It's not that the other one bothers me, but I just feel more drawn to this one. Like, this one feels a little bit more plump. I think that's a good word, right? So the yarn from this was more plump. There was more to the thickness, the poofiness than the other one. The non-premium was more flat, and you can feel it in the made item. So these hats were constructed exactly the same, but this one doesn't feel as thick as this one. So not that either one is less desirable, it's just different characteristics of the yarn. So that's those two. And I did grab, and this is actually the same yarn as the pink. This is a green, so I have the pink and the green and the premium acrylic, and they both feel super nice. And I've been having a blast making these, and I wanted to use them for donating. And they're completely 100% washable. They're washable, they're dryable, so people can just throw them into the washer and just treat them like a normal hat. And I thought that would be good if I could find a charity, maybe one that kind of caters towards children or young adults, and that would be in need of hats. So I also grabbed this. Now, this is a Hobbii yarn. What yarn is this? I'm gonna have to put it up on the screen because I cannot remember. For some reason my head's saying hurricane, and that doesn't sound right. So it's probably something like that. But let's see. I love these colors, right? And interestingly enough, you can kind of see where the yarn dye kind of messed up right there. It's just a little bit undyed. But I feel like that's okay because it's under the brim. You could just roll it up. But this is weight 3 yarn. So this is a DK yarn. This is a worsted yarn. And ironically enough, this seems a little bit taller, but I worked more rows for this one. I typically do around 130. So this would be 130. And for this, I knit anywhere between like 140 to like 150. I wanted to make sure that there was going to be enough width whenever they stretched out. And as your hat gets longer, there's more room kind of to stretch it out there. But I thought that this particular yarn from Hobbii was made for the knitting machine. It knit up beautifully. Like when you're using a knitting machine, it can go heads or tails, and I've talked about this before. It can go heads or tails how the yarn feels like working up, depending on which side of the bed your machine got out of in the morning. So you could get drop stitches like every 4 stitches, or it could like work beautifully. This worked beautifully. I had absolutely no issues knitting up this yarn. I believe it's Hurricane. And they actually, I was looking at it, they have a bunch of different colors of this yarn on their website, and I really loved some of them. Some of them were like pastels and bold colors. And you know, it comes in a cake, and it's just an acrylic yarn, and it's pretty soft too. So, okay, that's it for the knitting machine stuff. I'm sorry if you guys aren't into that. I just like to kind of share ways to use up stash because I feel like I have wanted to concentrate really hard on using up some of my yarn. And it's not that I want to stop buying yarn, it's that I just want to use up the yarn that I have because I need to make room for more yarn, right? I've actually kind of been Ravelry messaging Karen from Bobblehead Knits. Hi, Karen. Bobblehead Knits on Ravelry, and we were talking about stash, and I mentioned, you know, that I've never used like yak yarn, and there's so much yarn that I've never used, so I want to kind of use up the yarn that I have so I can get more of this yarn to try. But that's kind of why I like showing the different the different ways that I'm using yarn, whether it's knitting machine or hand knitting or stuff like that. So are you guys as excited as I am about this? Because I finished the Vertices Unite, and the Vertices Unite is a pattern by Stephen West, and Stephen West writes some awesome shawls, and I know that he uses a lot of bright, like bold colors. And I know that that might scare some of you guys. You aren't into all of the bright and the boldness, and that's perfectly fine. But I encourage you very much to take a look at his patterns and look at some of the projects. Because just because he used like the bright, bold colors doesn't mean that everybody did. And I've noticed that going through and looking at some of the projects that people have made from his patterns opens up like a whole new like world of Stephen West knits. I've seen some of his patterns that I've looked at the sample knits and I'm like, I can't really feel that one. And then I'll go to the projects and like somebody knit it up in the most beautiful colors that speak to my heart, and I fall in love with the pattern. Or somebody knits it up in like one color and I'm like, wow, that's gorgeous. So I would just go ahead and, like I said, take a look at some of the patterns, projects on Ravelry. Just take a look and see if any of them speak to you, because we all have our different colors that, you know, that work with us, that work with our hearts. So anyways, this is my Vertices Unite, and I finished it. Now, this is huge, guys. I am going to show it to you very slowly from one side to the other, and then I'm going to try later tonight to have my husband take a picture of it while it's laying down. But here we go. This is knit from Mouse Witch Yarns, and it is a fingering weight base, and it is a set called the Sugar Plum set. Now, all of these colors go together so well, and I love them. And I just think that this works great together. So I tried to have my husband hold this up. After I finished it, I'm like, can you hold it up? I really haven't had a chance to like see it all at the same time because it's just so big. So I had him, he was standing, and he reached from one side to the other side, and this shawl is bigger than his wingspan because he couldn't hold it all up at the same time. So this is the large version, and like I said, I love it, and I love the way that the colors go together. And this is a garter stitch shawl, and it is 100% modular. And part of the reason that I made so many knitting machine hats is because when you're done, you go around and you pick up all of the stitches on the border and you do an I-cord bind off. And I went around like last Sunday and I picked up all the stitches, and then I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this. This is gonna be way too much work. So I put it up until like Wednesday when I finally started working on it. And once I worked on it, I was in Zoom knitting. So once I worked on it, I realized, this isn't that bad. So that's what happened. The border wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And I'm really happy that I finished it. I'm really happy that I used my yarn on this. I think that it really kind of portrays and shows the yarn in an awesome way. And I am excited. I worked on this for part of Penny from PJ Knits podcast, her Vertices, her Unite knit along. So the knit along basically says you can knit any of the Vertices Unite pattern. So he has a Textures Unite, he has Vertices Unite, and I think he even has a baby blanket. So I chose the shawl, the Vertices Unite, and I really did like it. This is probably it's not my first shawl that I've done, but it's definitely my first Stephen West shawl. Like I said, I knit the large, and there are two sizes. There's a small and a large, and this is, like I said, very big, and it's garter stitch, so I feel like this isn't block jet. I feel like as soon as I block it, it's gonna get even bigger. If it grows like exponentially, I will bring it back on next week and show you guys. There just was not enough time to block it and lay it out and hope that it dries. I felt like if I tried to dry this in like 2 days, it wasn't gonna happen, even with the fan. So that is why it's not blocked. But it's so squishy. I love it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it though. That's the bad part. So if you guys don't know, I am paralyzed. I use a wheelchair full time. I could use it as a blanket, or I could wrap it up and definitely use it like around my shoulders, kind of like this. But I feel like I'm not gonna get enough use out of it to make it happy. So I feel like I need to look for somebody to give this to. Somebody who will wear it and appreciate it. That's all that really matters in the end, because I love my sweaters and I love wearing them. I wear knit sweaters or cardigans pretty much every time I leave the house. But I feel like I won't grab a shawl enough to justify having it, but that doesn't mean I didn't love making it. So it would make my heart happy if I could find somebody to give it to. But let me try to fold this up here. There we go. Okay, now I did cast on something new, and we're gonna talk about it because I mentioned it last week. Now this is called the Montrose Junior Cardigan, and I love this cardigan. I really, really love this cardigan, and I love how it looks, and my daughter wanted light pink, which is a very her thing to say. She loves light pink. So I started working on this with Plymouth Encore. And if you don't know about Plymouth Encore, I believe it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. So it comes in a put up like this. And this is what I have so far. Now, this is on a shorter needle, and I'm actually gonna have to move it to a bigger one soon. But what you're looking at here, and I actually had to kind of mark what I was doing, especially when I started this. I am very bad at paying attention to directions. So this is going to be the back of the cardigan, and I'm holding it upside down. So up here is the neck, and this is kind of where the shaping builds out, and now I'm going to be knitting down for a little bit longer before I start shaping for the arms down here. And then I believe you start to pick up the front. But I love how it looks, but here's the thing, right? So I'm doing a lot of purling with this pattern, which doesn't bother me, but I was so confused when I first started this. You have to look at each row until you kind of have a good base and you can see what's going on. Once you've got this visual pattern, it becomes much easier. But until then, my mind was having a hard time keeping up. So I really like this pattern. I am using, what am I using? I believe it's a 6. Yeah, so I originally cast on a 4.5. No, they said to use a 5. I cast on a 5, and it was really, the gauge was really like tight. And do you know how when you're knitting and the thing you're knitting feels like there's no drape to it, and it just feels, I mean, it's okay if you're knitting something that needs a gauge that's really tight, but if you're not, then I don't like it very much. So I moved up to a size 6, and I love this fabric a lot more. So you can kind of see how it's building up. You've got rows of stockinette and then some rows of purl stitches, and it's just fun. I love it. Like I said, this is what it's gonna look like, and there's a whole bunch of shaping on it, and I really like how the button band is double knitted, and this is just kind of like a mini project, I would say, to work on for my daughter. She has been wearing the one cardigan that I made her, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. The Thursday Special by Alina Nodell. So I made her one of those, and I made me one of those. And my son had his graduation, his final award ceremony and everything yesterday. And I was wearing my Thursday Special, and she was wearing her Thursday Special, and it was a complete accident because I didn't see her before I got dressed, and she didn't see me before she got dressed. So we were just kind of wearing, you know, the same pattern pretty much, and both of them were knit from Malabrigo. Was it Rios? Yeah, it was Malabrigo Rios. She has teal, no, I have teal feather. She has magenta. So we have fun with our patterns that match. Maybe I'll make, this does say junior in the name. Maybe I'll make myself one of these. I'm gonna have to see how it works up. One of the things visually that was bothering me is I don't feel like there's enough space here, and there definitely wasn't when I first cast on, but I'm thinking once it gets heavier, it's gonna start to pull down more. And I feel like that's why visually it looks different from the pattern. But this has been exciting for me. I've been having a blast making it. I had a couple of kind of false starts, I would say. The first time I cast it on, I got completely messed up. I was Zoom knitting and I got completely messed up. I'm like knitting when I should be purling and purling when I should be knitting. So I took it out and then I finally got the hang of the pattern. And then I'm like, okay, this gauge is like rock solid. Come on, guys, that can't work. So I took it out again and I bumped up the needle size and now it's going okay. So hopefully next week we'll have more of an item that looks a little bit closer to a cardigan for my kiddo. I am knitting it in a size 7, which is the highest size that the cardigan goes to. It has so much positive ease that I feel like that's going to work perfectly fine for her. So, and I've been kind of holding it up to her as I go because you can definitely see exactly where it's supposed to fit on her body with the shaping here. So it definitely does look like it's fitting her perfect. But I will be keeping an eye on that. Like I said, I'm hesitant to take gauge swatches, and I've kind of talked about this before. I take gauge, I always do gauge whenever I test knit, and I've noticed that every time I do gauge, it will kind of have me swap my needle away from something that I've used before and I know will work. So I do, and I knit, and my gauge changes halfway through or something else happens. And one time I ended up with a sweater that was way too big. So I'm kind of hesitant to swap my needle based on just a swatch. Generally, I like to start knitting the project, kind of feel the fabric that I'm getting, just like I did with this, and then I determine what I'm doing based on how the fabric feels. Because I feel like I can kind of modify the pattern as I go along to make it wider or longer, and based on the fabric that I'm getting. So that is my kind of thought process for swatching. I do recommend swatching if you're worried about having to rip out. If like pulling all of your knitting off and undoing all of it is going to be like a very bad situation for you and you don't want it to happen, I would definitely take time to swatch and plan. But I am so like, what's the word? I can't even think of the word right now. It does not bother me to just rip off my knitting, pull it out, and redo the whole thing. I have learned that it's just yarn and it's just knitting, and if I pull it out and I rip it out and I cast it back on, it generally looks better the second time around anyways. Okay, I have found a couple of patterns that I wanted to show with you guys. And actually, I'm going to start with one that Stephanie from Blackbird Sycamore Yarn actually messaged me to show me, and I thought that the pattern that she mentioned was really cute, and I was happy that she did. It is called Vakarute. Oh boy, I should have looked this up to pronounce it. I am going to say that it's Vakarute, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments, and I apologize. I should have Googled that one to see how it looked, or how it sounded, but that is how you spell it, and that is the really gorgeous cardigan. And there are two of these. There's a child-sized and there is adult-sized. And this is such an adorable lace cardigan. And I love the idea of doing this in the linen yarn that I was talking about. The linen yarn that I have is black. So I feel like this would be gorgeous as a black cardigan, but I'm worried like my head would explode. Look at how detailed and beautiful that lace is. I also, you know, to be fair, I also have like a hot pink color, and I think the hot pink would be awesome. It would, like seriously. Okay, so the yarn weight you're using is, it says lace plus lace, so it's fingering weight. You obviously don't have to hold two lace yarns together. You could just use fingering weight yarn. And it's 20 stitches and 26 rows equal 4 inches in stockinette stitch with the larger needles. And it's having you work on a size 3. Now, generally, when I work with fingering weight, me personally, I use a 3.5. And I find that I like the way that knits up. However, this is lace, and generally I don't use lace, so I would definitely take their advice and try to cast on with the size 3. Okay, so the sizes for this particular pattern is between 12 months and 10 and 12 years. So like I said, there's another pattern, and I believe it's the same name as this one, but it has the word lady in front, and that would be for adult sizes. So this is another one of those patterns that my daughter and I could both have. It says, Vakarute Girls Linen Cardigan by Natalie Pelykh is light, delicate, seamless, and of an unusual design. It has been created specially for linen assorti. Ooh, it uses a linen yarn in the sample. So that's even more reason. What if I made my daughter the hot pink one to start with? And then once I figured out the pattern, I could make myself one in black. Would you guys wear that in black? With like a hot pink shirt underneath it, right? Because then you'd see all of the stitches. Okay. It actually comes in English, Russian, and Ukrainian. It says that it's a written pattern, it has a chart, and it says the difficulty level is medium. Now, I look at this, and I look at this, all of these, like, the lace looks really complicated, and I'm like, oh man, medium? I don't know if I could do this. It looks a lot harder than medium to me. But I really think that the pattern is beautiful, so I'm happy that Stephanie sent that one to me. And actually, I believe that, yeah, it says that the pattern is available for free. There's information on how to get it. So you can purchase it from Ravelry, but it's also available for free. Okay, I was thinking because I keep a spreadsheet. I keep a spreadsheet because I'm like a geek and I like looking at data patterns and stuff. It's part of something that I notice in my job too. So anyways, I keep a spreadsheet of like the patterns that people pick whenever I give away a pattern, just to see like the designers that people like and like the types of patterns. And I realized that I haven't mentioned some of the patterns that people had picked previously, and I was supposed to be doing that, so I apologize, and I wanted to grab a couple to show you guys today. So this is called the Fossil Frenzy Tee Junior, and this is by Mary P. Hunt. And if you guys have a daughter or a son or a friend or a grandkid or pretty much anyone who would love a dinosaur shirt, I think that this one's really cute. And I really like the color work on it. And I love how it looks like the front and the back are different. So It is knit in fingering weight yarn, and it uses between 420 to 1300 yards. So it says, due to the amount of customization details within this pattern, I have split it into 3 documents: front end information, tutorials, and written instruction, colorwork charts arranged for printing, and then colorwork charts for digital use. That is really cool. It says the fingering weight tee is knit top down in the round and features 2 collar circumference options, raglan increases, and a stranded colorwork chest wrap. The split hem at the lower body is worked flat with a longer back panel and shorter front panel, and sleeves are added seamlessly at the end. So I think my daughter would like something like this too. It's really cute. So I know there are lots of kiddos out there who love dinosaurs. My son, he was really into trains. Not dinosaurs so much, but definitely trains. My daughter is into video games and Pokemon. My son liked Pokemon too, but my daughter's just adores it. So, anyways, I don't mean to babble on. This was a really cute pattern, and I really liked that because I've never seen this before. One of the things that I love whenever I give away a pattern is that I get to see different patterns that I've never heard of before, and this is definitely one of them. So it's a really neat, cool way to kind of get words. It's a really cool way to kind of get exposure to other types of designers that I just haven't ever come across. So, okay, this is one that came out this week, and I've talked about this wrap before. So this is a design by Woolen Pine, and earlier in the year, maybe a couple months ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, I cannot remember like what I had for dinner yesterday. So sometime in the past, Woolen Pine came out with the wrap, and it was called the Sundial wrap. And it was knit with mosaic stitches, and the color work on it was gorgeous, right? So this last week, they released the Sundial tee. And the color work, the mosaic knitting on this tee is gorgeous. Like, this is a really cute summer tee, and I love the endless amounts of customization that can be done on this. Now, this says that it uses fingering weight yarn, and like all of my stash, except maybe just a little bit that I use for knitting machine hats and other stuff. Okay, let me rephrase that. A good majority of my stash is fingering weight yarn. So I love this. It would be so much fun to use this for an advent. Could you imagine like a gradient advent in this? No, well, yes. Okay, let's think about it. It's striped, and you need enough color contrast between the 2 colors that you pick. So you have a gradient like this, and you lay them all out, and then what do? Because you can start from this end, and you'd have enough contrast, but as you worked in, you'd lose the contrast in more. So maybe you could start from here to here, and then work like that, maybe. Or you could do this. You could take your gradient skeins, and then you could have a neutral color, and you could work with the neutral color. And I think I would like that, especially if the neutral was like a dark color, like a black, I think, or like a beige. Then I think that would look really cool. Plus, and I've noticed this about advents, and one of the reasons I like doing it is specifically because of this. When you work an advent with a neutral color, it kind of tones down the advent and doesn't make, and kind of gives it all harmony. And I really like that. So if you guys have followed exactly what I said, well done, because I know like all of this is very odd. So I am a very odd person, but I hope you got what I meant. This is just the cutest shirt. I really like this one. I really, really like this one. It says, Stash meets summer. Sundial Tea takes the bold rhythmic color play of our Sundial wrap and reimagines it as an easy, stash-friendly top with mosaic knit stripes and clean tailored finishing. This is a design built for stock yarns, hand-spun, advents, or whatever you have hanging around. And every bit of it makes it look intentional. This makes me excited. Darn it. That is the bad part about having like a list of items, and I've mentioned this before. I have my make 30 list. So this is the bad part about my make list, right? Because I have this list of stuff I want to start and I don't want to start other things. So what I did is now I have a second make list, and I started putting patterns that I run across onto it, and I think I'm gonna put this one on. I really like it, and I really like the shape of it. It's a little bit boxy, and I love that. And I like the sleeves on it, and I love the fact that it's mosaic knitting, and it's gonna be easy, and it's a stash buster. So maybe like for an advent upcoming, this would be great for next year. Although like it is a summer top, right? So, well, that doesn't mean I can't work on it in the middle of December. That just means I can't really wear it comfortably in the middle of December. So we'll keep that in mind. Okay, we're gonna talk about this one next. And you guys are gonna think I'm silly because this is called the Salty Days Cardigan, and this is by Veronika Lindberg. And this is a sweater, and this is a long sleeve sweater, but I'm gonna talk about why I'm mentioning it. So I was browsing Instagram, like we do, and I saw the most beautiful summer top. And I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to figure out, like, I've never seen this before. What is this? So I read the description, and it turned out it was a Salty Days sweater. The person that had made it short-sleeved, and I just thought it was super cool, and I really thought that it was fitting for summer. It was in a beautiful summer color, so I wanted to mention it here. Just because a sweater is long-sleeved, or, you know, when you look at it, you first think, hey, yeah, but that's probably a different season. It doesn't mean you can't just forgo the sleeves and kind of make it summer, right? So that is my thought. And I think that the texture, the patterning that's on the sweater is really cool. So it uses lace plus DK, basically a DK weight gauge, and it's 17 stitches in 24 rows. It's 4 inches in 1x2 rib. So the sizes, it's extra small to 5XL, and it says the Salty Days sweater got its name from the salt fields in Portugal. The different sections of texture make it look a bit like the intricate patterns of salt flakes. The sweater is worked top down and has drop shoulders with extra long sleeves for a feminine and cozy look. The work begins by shaping the back yoke flat by increasing for the shoulder seams. Then stitches are picked up from left and right shoulder for the front yoke. The front and back yokes are then joined together and worked in the round for the body. Stitches are picked up for the sleeves and worked in the round. And lastly, stitches are picked up for the double folded collar. So this is a drop shoulder sweater, so it would be even easier to kind of forgo the sleeves on this. Yeah, I'm telling you, when I saw it and I saw it with short sleeves, I thought it was so pretty. And I could not tell that it was, I had no clue what the pattern was. So that was kind of an awesome experience. Okay, this is another pattern that was from a previous pattern winner. And this is called the Herding Cat Socks. And this is by Stone Knits. So, can you guys guess why I love these? Now, immediately when I saw them, I started wondering what else this motif is on. Because I'm like, is this a hat? I would love this as a hat. So, I thought that the pattern was so cute. And you know what? It's a really cute sock pattern. My daughter would probably love this. So, it says it's around like 400-ish yards of fingering weight yarn, which is, skein of sock yarn. Obviously, you're not going to just use one skein because the sample shows that the cats are in different colors. You could make them all one color if you wanted, but it says, whether you want to make these socks dedicated to every cat you have ever met, like my pair, or to honor just one special feline friend, these socks are made so much fun to knit and wear and totally perfect for using up any little scrap yarn sock leftovers. I wanted to create a sock pattern that we could all knit to show our love and dedication to our cats, whether they are still with us, probably demanding a snack right now, or no longer here and waiting for us to join them over on the Rainbow Bridge. So I thought that this was super cute. And you know what else? What would be fun? So you're carrying around words. You're carrying around more than one strand of yarn anyway for these socks. So what if you added a strand of mohair just for the kitties? So like you could carry a strand of mohair with whatever color you're using for the cats. And that way when you finish the socks, the cat parts are fuzzy. I feel like my kids would get a kick out of that, and I would love it too. But anyways, it says that the language that the pattern is available in is English, French, German, and Spanish, which is actually really cool. That's a ton of different languages. And sizes, there's 3 different sizes available. So if you ever want to take a look at a sock pattern for a cat lover, this is definitely a good choice. Oh, I think the motif is so cute. Okay, that is actually it for the patterns. I just had those. So I am all done with all of my knitting sharing today. I'm hoping that next week I will be, oh, you know what? I'm going to talk about something really quick. I am going to talk about, for 5 minutes, about my knitting machine and my knitting machine woes I had this week. So yesterday, after work and before my son's graduation, I'm cranking a hat, and the handle broke. Like, really? So I'm all, bemoaning the world because the Addy King is pretty expensive, and to just have a handle snap off. And my husband looked at it and he's like, this isn't going to go back together, not the way that you need it to. So anyways, I went and looked online, and you can get replacement part, like a replacement handle. So that was good. But it really bummed me out. It feels like now, I feel really old when I say this, but it feels like nowadays nothing is meant to last. Things just break and fall apart, and it's just frustrating. So those are my 2 cents and what I wanted to share with that kind of knitting machine journey. It's not like I was pulling it hard or like I yanked it. I was just doing what I do all the time, which is just crank it, and it just popped right off. So kind of frustrating, but you know what? I'm not going to complain at all because you can buy a replacement part. So as long as I can buy a part for something that snapped off, it doesn't bother me as much. If I had to buy the whole machine again, I would be pretty sad about it. So have you guys ever used one of the circular knitting machines? And have you ever had something like break off, or you know, they're made of plastic, so I kind of get it. The other knitting machines, the other circular knitting machines that have actual metal are a little bit, I mean, they're more sturdy, obviously. So it is what it is. What else should I talk about? Okay, I think that is it for the knitting and crochet. I am going to talk about reading for maybe 5 minutes before I jump off. So for reading this week, I have been listening to Alice Feeney books. Is that who? Yes, she's got some psychological thrillers. I listened to I Know Who You Are, which had a crazy weird ending. And I listened to Sometimes I Lie. If you like psychological thrillers, I would definitely check her out. Right now I'm listening to His and Hers, and I haven't gotten far enough to say much of anything about it. I think that's all of the books that I've been listening to. I've been trying to get back into working on studying. I had to take a break there for a little bit because it was just getting to be too much, but now I'm trying to kind of get back to it, especially before I start school in August. Okay guys, that is all that I had to share with you. If you want to enter the contest for next week, just leave a comment down below. If you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye!